Hello all, A Knife's Tale here, bringing you another knife review, and today we're going to be looking at the Monterey Bay Old Guard with far more crap on the blade than I was expecting. Yeah. Let's jump into specs real fast and just get a general look at this knife. We've got about a 3.5 inch blade, just a slight bit under. Actually, yeah, it's kind of in between 3 and 3/8 and 3.5 on the blade. So 3.4 inch blade, let's call it, with an overall length of an 8 and an 1/8, and 4 and 5/8, and there's a dog in the background. Dog, hello dog. I'll be with you in just a moment. Okay, yeah, what did I say? 4 and 5/8 was it on the handle? Yeah, about that. Let's make some comparisons real fast. He's a pushy little turkey. I don't know if you can hear him, but he's making some noise in the background behind me. Alright. As you can see, this is... I mean, it looks like a lot larger on camera than the Conspirator Elementum comparisons. It looks like a lot larger. It's not a lot larger than the Conspirator. In practicality, its handle is larger. The blade is actually a hair shorter. The cutting edge is pretty darn similar, though. You can also see that this is a pretty... not a tall knife, I should say. Much more in line with the Elementum when open. And even closed. This is not taking up a lot of room. This is very nice to carry in the pocket. It is not even all that thick, despite this knife having contoured scales. Which I guess I should quickly just say that this is, of course, contoured titanium, M390. It says it right there. And it is an inset liner lock on phosphor bronze, which is important. So no bearings here. Let's get a weight. Uh, 4.16 ounces. Okay, so not an ounce an inch, not heavy, not unreasonable. I mean, it's titanium. It's milled out inside. It's hardly unreasonable for a knife of this size, a knife like this. The ratios aren't perfect, but they're not bad. I will say I think that these sort of not particularly tall knives, but that long and slender and deft in the hand sort of knives are pretty... I like this style of knife in general, and they usually, if they have good geometry, which we will talk about, they're pretty good for EDC because there's not a whole lot to them. They disappear in the pocket pretty readily, I should say. Hardware check. T8. T8. That almost feels like a T9. I don't think it is, though. I'm almost certain it's not. But let's take a quick check. That is also a T8. Where the heck is my T9? There it is. No. Okay, yeah, so it's T8. It's just not the tightest of T8s. Do with that what you will. Rest of the hardware is also T8, which we like seeing. Again, they're not a super deep T8, but they are T8, thankfully. Oh, focus. There we go. Which I particularly like seeing, and I think most people do too, but I wish these were a little bit deeper. The tooling, in general, I think, would be a good thing to see. Check out thickness. 457 thousandths, so yeah, it's thinner than the Conspirator by a decent amount. 138 thousandths, so we'll call that 140 thousandths, which is pretty reasonable for the blade stock. It's not super thin, it's not super slicey on the blade stock, but it's also not super thick. Get behind the edge. Okay, now I said get behind the edge, not slip off the edge. I don't know why this is giving me such issue today. Give me a moment here. Really? 14 thousandths? I was expecting that to be a little... I don't think I'm on the right spot. $14 to $15,000 behind the edge. That's pretty reasonable. It's not the thinnest thing ever, but it's pretty reasonable. Honestly, I thought it was going to be thicker than that. I will say that this blade, because it doesn't have a lot of room to drop, does, and because of... Oh, dog. Hold on just a moment, please. Because of the thicker blade stock, then maybe it could be. I would like to see 130 thousandths. It does get thick relatively quick up the blade, which is unfortunate. So you're going to lose some of that slicing. As it came out of the box, it's a pretty good cutter. You are going to lose that a bit, though. No play. Good access to the lock bar. Very smooth lock bar. On bearings. And now he's barking. He is demanding. Well, you're going to have to wait, dog. Okay. And as you can see, even though it isn't as smooth as... He's not going to wait. I'll be right back. And we're back. For now, hopefully. He was barking at a running leaf. Yeah. I said it, I've probably used that joke before. He does it a lot. Where was I? Ah, yes. It's on phosphor bronze. It's certainly not as glassy as something like a CRK, but it doesn't cost that kind of money. It's made in China. You're not expecting the same thing, but you can certainly still flick it. You're just not shaking it shut real easily. The deployment is only the thumb studs, which is fine. They're fine. They're good. They're not the greatest thumb studs ever, but they're fully functional. They're not bad in any way, so yeah. They're reasonable. Let's move on to ergos. Ergos for this, I mean, they're pretty great. I mean, it's very neutral. But you can feel this curve sort of nestling you in. You got a little bit of curve, but it's not uncomfortable in any way, and it's... Yeah, the ergos are great. The contouring makes it much more comfortable. It is nicely chamfered. And as simple as this knife is, there's something about it that it works. It's just kind of a good-looking knife. At least I think it is. That's why I bought it. So the ergos are great. The clip, you can kind of feel the clip, but barely. I'm not 100% sure it's the clip compared to just the feel of the titanium and the angles on the titanium naturally. It's just barely there. It's not a deep carry clip, as you can see. It's got decent retention. It's a milled titanium clip, and it's an attractive one. There's not much else to say about the clip. I don't think there's any problems there. It's not too long. It still manages to get the retention right. And it's not being prioritized by the lanyard. I should say the lanyard hole is not being prioritized over said clip. So, good job there. Inoffensive, comfortable, is what it is. And of course, being such a neutral knife, you can sort of go wherever you want, including right up behind the edge, and still be quite comfortable in almost any grip. I say almost any grip, but I mean any grip that's reasonable to use, you pretty much are comfortable. Which is good. The blade, holy crap, that's not good. The blade has a very sort of, it's got like a very bright satin to it. It reflects weirdly a little bit. It's a bit fingerprinty. It's belt satin. But it's got a bit of a strong, it's not super reflective, but it's just, it goes like whitish tan with a reflection in it very easily with the lights. I don't know why. Doesn't look bad. Just, it is what it is. So, now, unfortunately, we come to the one problem I have with this knife. Well, thinner geometry would be nice, but like a hollow grind would be just outstanding on this thing. But barring that, the problem with this knife is the stop pin. It hits behind the tang on the open position. It hits directly behind the edge, and you can see all the crap that's been in this thing from me carrying it, because I do like this knife. I do carry this knife. I haven't had as many occasions to actually use this knife as perhaps I would like to, but that might be a good thing considering the stop pin placement. It's behind the edge. It hits on that line, which is right here. The plunge grind is here. It's slightly got the beginnings of a smile right here, and I have not sharpened this knife. I will say that the M390 has actually held up surprisingly well. This is not a new knife. This is a used knife. So, kudos to them. It's probably using the same standards for China, but I guess mine's on the higher end because it's performing a little bit better than I would even have thought. It's definitely needs a touch-up right now, but there's nothing that makes me think it needs to be resharpened. Which is good because it's already putting a smile on there. Good luck cutting in a choil. You can't do it. Or you could, but you have to basically cut it in like this. The only way to cut in a choil on this knife would basically to be taking it from right here at the back of the edge and going straight up and cutting in sort of a triangle. If you could manage that. Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be a triangle, but you can't go anywhere near touching this without causing substantial closed position and locking issues. This is a knife that is not designed to be sharpened. just to be straightforward with you. The plunge is bad. The stop pin placement is bad. If you have the precise enough tools to just sort of go from the back of the edge and just put a choil out forward in front of this thing like this, you might be okay. Sort of. Like, I guess. Let's see, do we have something I can point with? Probably not. I'm going to point with this. So you basically have to go up from here and over. Because if you go back anywhere, you could be in trouble. You could be just ruining your knife permanently. And as it is, it's just going to have a huge smile. It's going to get thick and weird, and you're going to have issues with the plunge. The only other issue I have with this knife is while it is centered, There could be more blade in there. Like, just trim down that backspacer a little bit and extend that blade out. There's no reason there shouldn't be a... Let's see. How much blade are we talking could we get in there? From there, which is at the blade, doesn't maybe look it. 270 thousandths, so a quarter inch of blade, maybe, could be put in here. If you do it right. That's substantial. The ratio of the blade to handle is not wonderful. It's not a big deal. And just like the the overall geometry, it's not a complete killer on this knife, even if it would be better done a slightly different way if you still wanted this slick, thicker blade geometry. The killer is the stop pin. That's a problem. That is going to give you a considerably shorter lifespan, and yeah, I mean, as you can see, just looking at the edge termination, look, it's right there. It's already getting thicker. It gets thick and reasonably quickly. So, the price point on the... Did I even say the name? I don't even remember saying the name. Holy crap. Monterey Bay Old Guard. Wow. Yeah, Monterey Bay Knives. Old Guard. That's what it's called. I'm pretty sure I said Old Guard, but I don't know if I said Monterey Bay Knives, which is... Sorry. To Monterey Bay. Knives. Yeah. I know there's a few iterations of this knife. I think they all, unfortunately, suffer from the same exact problem. There's some carbon fiber inlay or onlay ones. There's, I think, a miniature one. There's some budget versions. And the budget and the carbon fiber versions are probably available. And anyone that doesn't suffer from that stop pin issue could be a recommendable knife. From what I know, I'm about 75% sure that most, if not all, do. I think there are a few Monterey Bay knife models that do, unfortunately. And for that reason, it's not recommendable. Even if the price isn't bad. This was... I think this is like a $230 knife. I mean, it's such a problem with that edge termination, plunge, and stop pin that I'm not even really looking up the price for this. I don't think that this base model is even available right now, so it doesn't matter. But the budget ones are probably in the $60 to $70 range, and the more expensive ones are probably in the $240 range for the carbon fiber, is my guess. They're good prices. They're made in China, but that's a perfectly reasonable price for contoured titanium inset liner lock. If you're going to look for a sort of entry-level premium knife, yeah, the pricing's good. The design is really holding this thing. There's few of those, not even the design, it's the execution elements that are holding this thing back. So I can't recommend it. Though I want to. If you're looking at Monterey Bay knives, I know they have another knife, the Rosalinda by Laconico, designed by Laconico. I think that also has the same stop pin issue. I'm not 100% sure on that one, but I'm thinking it might. Which is a problem, because that's also a very attractive knife. Basically what I'm saying is if you're going Monterey Bay, they're flippers. I don't think they have the problem. And they have really good ones. The Slayback, the XL Slayback, the Pincher. They have some pretty nice, very minimalist flippers. And that's another thing. The only thing on this blade is that MBK. I wish the MBK logo was up here, or, yeah, basically up here and a little bit smaller, but they present a very almost elegant knife because it's just so streamlined and minimalist, and there's very little billboarding. It carries well. It's a good EDC design. It just needs those couple tweaks. A little more blade. Stop pin being internal or attached to the blade, or even just up in here in general. And a plunge grind improvement. Which would honestly be fine if they just gave it like a hollow ground blade or a deeper grind, so it doesn't get quite as thick as fast. But it's not too bad. Like, I could definitely be fine and still get an alright performance after a couple sharpenings out of this thing. The only problem is it's going to be tougher and tougher and uglier while doing it. So, can't recommend it based off of that particular one big element. But it's definitely something to watch. If they make an updated version 2 of this, I'm quite interested. Maybe even put just a little bit of like a faux textured inlay into the titanium. That would be wonderful. That'd be great. Or just do a slight texture on the titanium. With a hollow grind. Stop pin placement. Dog. Whining in the background. All of it. I like the knife. Can't recommend it. And that's really all. So, thanks for watching if you did, if you stuck around to this point. Like, subscribe, if you want, I guess. Who knows? I'll be back with other better offerings from all kinds of territories. Budget, similar high-end, low high-end, to crazy nonsense. There'll be more. So check out one of those if you want. Or not, that's up to you. Leave me some comments. Maybe you have a Rosalinda and you have the same experience. Is it the same on that model? I'm actually curious. But I feel this is just on the edge of, ooh, they really have something here. And they know they have something here because they've done different variants and versions of it. But they're just not making the absolute most important corrections. So, MBK, if by any miracle you ever listen or see this, it's not going to be hard to update this thing. Yeah, that's all. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.